Hey Omnibus Collectors, it's Riley and I'm back with another Omnibus of the Week. Kind of not an omnibus, it's actually going to be a deluxe edition. We're going to be talking about the Multiversity Deluxe Edition that just came out. But I really love this book, so I figured I needed to make a video for it. Also, if you haven't already watched my last video, know that I have launched into a partnership with Gemmer, which is a social networking platform for collectors, and that if you sign up through me, then you will be automatically entered to win a copy of this book. I'll talk a little bit more on that at the end of the video, and there's going to be a link where you can sign up through me so you can enter to win the book down below. But anyway, let's launch into me talking about Multiversity and why I love this book so freaking much. So Multiversity came out, I believe it was late last year, in the latter half of last year when it started, and it ran through the beginning of this year. It is of course written by Grant Morrison, who I've mentioned many times is my absolute favorite writer in all of comics. If you're not a fan of Grant Morrison, this book is definitely not going to change your opinion of him. If you don't like his style of storytelling, the large concept and the kind of psychedelic stuff that he adds to it, then you're definitely not going to be swayed in his favor by this book. At least I don't think so. But personally, bless you. Personally, I think that it is a fan-freaking-tastic book, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, the book is written completely by Grant Morrison. He's joined by a lot of different artists within these pages, such as Yvonne Reyes, Jim Lee, Doug Mahnke, Chris Sprouse, and other frequent collaborators with him, such as Cameron Stewart and Frank Quitely. So it's very notable in that it has a lot of awesome artists in there, and that's not even all of them. That's just me hitting the tip of the iceberg as far as who's included in this book. As far as the structure of the story goes, there were 9 total issues that were that made up the Multiversity. They were all one-shot issues, and one of them was a guidebook, which kind of told a little bit about all the different worlds that were involved. Each one of these issues told its own separate story, but they all tied together into one bigger tapestry that was told throughout all of the issues and kind of came to a culmination at the end of the last issue in here, which was Multiversity number 2. This is kind of similar to the way that he did Seven Soldiers of Victory, so if you're familiar with that series, you know kind of the way that this works. In that series, it was 7 different mini-series that were connected by common threads, which started in the Seven Soldiers, like the first issue, and then ended with the second issue of that. So it's similar to that structure here, in that you could read each of these as one shot separately, but they do contain elements that tie together into one solid story. Also, this can be considered as a follow-up to his event Final Crisis. So if you've read that, this is following up on some of the characters and the plot lines that were introduced in there. If you've never read that, then don't worry about it. You could still read this and still enjoy it just fine. I think you might get more out of it having read Final Crisis, but you can still get the sense of why this is such a great book if all you are is reading this book by itself. Hopefully it's good enough, if you decide to read it, it's good enough to inspire you to go back and read some of Morrison's other stuff. If you haven't read Final Crisis yet, then read that kind of leading into it. Might be a good idea. But anyway, it's a really beautiful book. The artwork is fantastic throughout. The storytelling is really intriguing, really original, and basically how it's set up is that Morrison here is exploring the multiverse. That's why it's called Multiversity. He's exploring the DC multiverse and various ones of the Earths that are included in here. And the various types of characters that are included in each Earth. And this story kind of strings together through multiple Earths in the DC multiverse. Each issue has a different style to it by using different artists, the artists that I mentioned earlier. The guidebook that I mentioned actually works to give you a rundown of every single Earth in the multiverse and tell you which characters are from that Earth. So you get different Earths that have, characters that are all vampires from like the Batman Red Rain series. There's Earths where the characters are like younger versions of themselves or like chibi versions of themselves. You of course have the main New 52 universe, which I believe is Earth Prime. There's an Earth that's supposed to be the Earth from Darwin Cook's New Frontier book. There's like a more pulpy Earth that tells DC stories set in kind of a pulp action-adventure universe. There's the Earth where Calvin Ellis, the President Superman from Morrison's Action Comics run, where he's from. So you get a whole host of different Earths, and a lot of them are ones that are kind of original to him, that he's created, and a lot of them are Earths that are based on other stories that we've seen throughout the history of the DC universe. So this is kind of Morrison almost making a map to the entire DC universe / multiverse and telling us where each of the stories that have been told in the past fall on that map. So it's very, very interesting, very cool. It's a great piece of not only comic book literature, but kind of a great piece of DC Comics history. So if you are a fan of the history of DC Comics as a whole, then this is a book you would definitely want to check out because it's going to really pique your interest on many different levels. Now hopefully I've gotten your interest, and we are going to go ahead and take a look on the inside of the book. I'm going to show you some of the artwork and how the make of the book actually looks. Alright y'all, here is a look at the book itself. Here is the cover of Multiversity. Very nice looking dust jacket here with the Multiversity symbol. We get a look at the map up here of all the various Earths and stuff, and there's different things around the Earths as well. Look at the spine. The spine has an interesting design. It's got, this is kind of a motif that appeared on all the covers of the single issues. It has the different Earths 1 through 52, and there's also it says the Multiversity, the Deluxe Edition, Grant Morrison, and then several of the artists are listed down there. The back cover shows again that map of the DC multiverse, and at the top it has a description that reads, "There are worlds you have never imagined, worlds beyond the ones you know, worlds where heroes fight for truth and justice, worlds where darkness reigns and only a chosen few keep the light alive, worlds of magic and science, comedy and tragedy, monsters and marvels, 52 infinite possibilities, and one threat great enough to destroy them all. This is the Multiversity." So pretty nice description of what's going on in there. Take a look at the inside of here. This is just giving some praise for the book and for Grant Morrison from different places, the AV Club, Wired, IGN, Nerdist, and Pop Matters. So just some reviews about Morrison and Multiversity. And then on the other inside flap, we've got creator profile for Grant Morrison. Now, underneath the dust jacket, the cover has an image from, I believe this is the first issue of the series. Might have been from the last issue. I don't recall offhand. Actually, I think it was from the last issue. I'm sure someone can correct me and let me know for sure down in the comments. But I believe it was from the last issue. One thing that I really want to show and note is that the inside of the dust jacket is a map of the multiverse, which is very cool. I've never seen a book utilize the inside of the dust jacket to give extra material, so this is a really, really neat thing that they did here. You get a nice little map of where all the Earths are themselves. Different things outside of just the 52 different Earths. There's also things like the Monitor Sphere, the Source Wall, which we've seen as part of the current Green Lantern books. There's Limbo, like these little areas are Limbo. We have the Underworld, we have Hell, we have the Overworld. Speed Force Wall is around there. Wonder World, Sphere of the Gods over here, Apocalypse, New Genesis, Skyland. Various different realms that are part of the DC universe are around this map of the multiverse. And there are also descriptions on this side of all the different things. You get a description of the Source Wall, the Monitor Sphere, Limbo, Sphere of the Gods, Dream, Heaven, New Genesis, Skyland, Nightmare, Hell, Apocalypse, Underworld, Wonderworld, Speed Force Wall, the frequencies of Quiz, and Orrery of the Worlds. So there's different descriptions of all the various things that are on this map. So if you're not familiar with some of those concepts, or some of these are brand new things that Morrison is introducing, then you get a nice little legend, I guess, to look at all that. And then on the other side is a shift ship classification. Shows the destroyer, the carrier, the tanker, the hunter, and the explorer, which are various ships that would be going around the multiverse. So that's something I really wanted to spend a minute or so talking about, because I thought it was really, really neat that they included this map on the inside cover of the dust jacket, and that can really help you out if you're reading and you're like, well, what's that supposed to be? You get a map right here so you can check it out. And we can take a look at the inside of the book itself, and you see, there's some credit pages here basically telling all the artists and different creators that are involved. There are not page numbers throughout this book, so there's not a way for you to see, like, which issue is on which page, so you can check out a certain artist's work, which is kind of a negative. I didn't really dig that, but it goes straight into the story, and you get both the cover and the sketch cover variant for each one of them, and it just goes straight into it. And there's a lot of awesome work by different awesome artists throughout this book. But before I show off some of the artwork, I'm going to go talk about the end of the book and the back matter. There's a pretty good chunk of material here that's like back matter, bonus material for the book. There's a lot of different variant covers that are seen throughout the book, different variant covers for a lot of various artists. There's actually, Morrison does his own variant covers for each one as well, so it's interesting to see him provide some art on the inside of this book. So there's several variant covers for every single issue that's in here. So you get a cover gallery back here, which is really nice. Get to see all that different artwork from various artists. Very cool, very awesome. I always love a variant cover gallery. And then at the end, we get some sketches that Morrison did of the various characters that were going to be included in here, and then some sketch work from some of the artists that did work on the inside as well. And that's much of the rest of the bonus materials, I believe, are all sketches of various issues and various characters that appear through the book. And then the one last thing that I wanted to show off before getting into showing off some of the artwork was the bulk of the guidebook issue. The guidebook issue does have, this is a story that was inside the Multiversity guidebook, but it also, more importantly, gives us, there's the recreation of that map from the inside cover. But it gives us a guide to every single Earth. So we see, you know, Earth 0 is the New 52 Earth. Earth 1, like the Earth 1 books that we have published, with Superman by J. Michael Straczynski, Wonder Woman's going to be by Grant Morrison, and Batman by Jeff Johns. Go for every single one. Earth 2, we're familiar with them from the Earth 2 book. Earth 3 is the Crime Syndicate Earth. Earth 4 is the Pax Americana Earth. So there's different explanations for what characters exist on every single one of these Earths, what makes these Earths different. You kind of get an idea of you know, where these Earths have been featured as well. Like this is the Batman Beyond Earth, so you get an idea of where that Earth came from. Some of them are unknown, and there is set to be further Multiversity books. This is kind of a self-contained event, but it does lead up towards more things. It does lead towards the possibility of new stories, and Morrison himself has said that there's going to be more stories set in some of the various Earths that appear throughout this book. Here's like the Kingdom Come Earth. This is the New Frontier Earth. Bizarro Earth. So there's a lot of unknown ones, and we're definitely going to be discovering more about them in the future. So it's very nice. This is a really, really nice touch for them to add in here, just giving us a nice rundown of what the different Earths are, where they exist, who exists on them, all that kind of stuff. So we see this big, it's like a map of DC's expanded canon, which I find to be very interesting. And then it goes right back into the story. So that I really enjoyed the inclusion of a guidebook, because it really added a dimension to the book that I believe it didn't have before, and it would have been fine without it, but this adds kind of an extra little oomph to it that makes it go from like a great book to something that's phenomenal, and like you can see how much thought that Morrison put into building this entire, not even world building, it's multiverse building is exactly what he's doing here, and it shows how much work and thought he put into building this multiverse and organizing it and taking from other people and organizing all of these other concepts that other artists and other creators have put together and solidifying them into one concrete idea. Anyway, now that I've said that and we've looked at all this, let's take a look at some of the artwork that's inside the book itself. And so here's some material from the opening issue. See, we have Ivan Reis as the artist on this one. Of course, Reis is more of a typical superhero artist, and he does a really great job in doing what he's doing here, but this issue basically sets up the rest of the Multiversity event going forward. Our second issue here is the Society of Superheroes, which is the more pulpy book with artwork by Chris Sprouse. So Sprouse does a really great job of showing us these pulp action adventure type of characters here. The third issue was The Just, which is it's a alternate Earth, which is very much focused on social media and stuff. This one had artwork by Ben Oliver. It's a really nice panel right there. Then we get to mine and many other people's personal favorite issue, which is the Frank Quitely Pax Americana issue. This is Morrison and Quitely kind of telling their version of Watchmen, using those original Charlton Comics characters, which the Watchmen characters were based off of. And it's cool, you get this kind of similar layout motif to the opening panels here as to something that Dave Gibbons would have done in his artwork for Watchmen, but it's got that distinct Quitely flair to it. So it's very, very nice stuff here. Really beautiful panel layouts on Quitely's part. With our next issue, we get to Thunderworld Adventures, which is Morrison with Cameron Stewart. This one takes place on a world that's kind of more focused on Captain Marvel or Shazam and all his family of characters. Personally, this is another one of my absolute favorite issues in this book. I really loved Cameron Stewart's style of artwork that he used here, but I also thought that the story was just incredibly fun in this issue. A really nice spread from Cameron Stewart from that issue. Then we get to the Multiversity Guidebook, which I've already mostly shown you guys. Then with Jim Lee as the artist, we get the Mastermen, which is where you get the Nazi Superman named Overman, or basically Ubermensch. This has a very similar idea to it as Mark Millar's book Red Sun did. Red Sun had Superman landing in Russia. This one is more him in Germany, so an idea of what Superman may have been like if he had landed in Germany instead of the US. Next we get to Ultra Comics, which has art by Doug Mahnke. This one's kind of a really important issue. This cover itself, this issue itself, actually appears as a piece of the rest of the issues stuff. You see this comic appear throughout previous issues. So it's really important to see this issue itself as you see what all these other characters were reading, more or less. This was also one of my absolute favorite issues in this book. I think, you know, this one and the other two I mentioned are my top three. I love the artwork in here and just the idea behind this issue, what Morrison was doing with this issue of the event. Then we go into the final issue of this entire thing, which is Multiversity number 2, Justice Incarnate. We see a bunch of those plot threads from the rest of the previous issues come together. We see a lot of the different heroes from the various Earths around the DC multiverse team up together to fight one common enemy. It's a really nice conclusion issue here to the series. Really does bring everything together well. It does give them the ability to do a lot of cool things with these characters in the future and these different Earths from the multiverse in the future. So I really did appreciate how well they ended this series. Alright y'all, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hopefully if you were on the fence about Multiversity here, this video helped you make up your mind if you want to go ahead and purchase this volume. It is currently available on all websites that you might order comics from. It just came out, so it is readily in print for all of you to explore. The cover price is $50 in US. You can easily get it for much less. The first week deal, of course, on in-stock trades where I order my books from is 50% off, so I was able to grab it for $25, but you should be able to easily grab it around that price point. Definitely less than $30. I believe on Amazon it's still less than $30. So in my opinion, it's very, very well worth the price of admission to buy this book, and hopefully, like I said, I intrigued you and got you to want to grab this book. Like I said earlier in the video, you can have the chance to win this book. I was doing a giveaway that I mentioned in my previous video where I talked about my partnership with the social networking site Gemmer. So if you sign up, there's a link down below, and you can watch my previous video to get an idea of what Gemmer is, but it is social networking for collectors. And if you sign up with the link that I put down below in the description of my video, then you will be automatically entered for a chance to win a brand new copy of this book. So go ahead and enter that. Hopefully you win. because I really think that everyone should read this book because I really love it. I think it's a fantastic one. It's a great looking volume as well. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending time with me. Thanks for, you know, hanging out with me and talking about comics. That's what we're all about, is the comics, and I love this one, and I just want to tell you guys why I love it. So again, thank you so much. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you are, then thank you for continuing to watch. Go ahead and like, comment, all that good stuff. Share this video with your friends, your family, whoever you think might be interested in comics, because it helps me out. You get to spread the love, spread the word about me. Down below I have links to my website, my Facebook page, different social media places where you can find me, as always. And again, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.